Hey everybody, welcome to the December Patreon vlog. I think I missed November, right? I didn't get around to it. I think super busy with the Thanksgiving season and everything like that. Sorry, there's a lot of traffic outside. But I thought I'd do a quick update here. We got a couple things to talk about. We got Patreon, we've got upcoming videos, we got DS9 and Real Ripe and Real Rotten updates to those. So if everyone doesn't know, the Patreon the website has started charging or changing the way that they're handling their transaction fees. Basically, what was happening before was that when I would get the payout of everything that you guys generously provide, they would take out the fees both for Patreon, which is 5%, and then they would take out these transaction fees that would be on top of it. And they're switching it so that the patrons are going to be the ones who bear the burden of paying those transaction fees. So they're going to pay on top of your pledge, if you pledge $1, you pay this fee of 35 cents, a flat fee, plus basically 3% of whatever your pledge is. So it works out to be about 38 cents if you're $1. So if you pledge $1, you pay $1.38 into Patreon at the start when the thing charges you every month. It met a lot of backlash online, as always. All changes are met with backlash online, on YouTube and everything especially. And I sort of fall into the middle of it. I don't think it's a bad idea. It's not an end of the world kind of idea, which is what a lot of people seem to think it is. I think it's I don't think it's Patreon trying to be money grubbing or anything. I think they're in kind of a tough spot where previously what was happening was if you signed up on the last day of a month in order to access the stuff for that month, so if you signed up on like the last day of November, you'd get charged whatever your fee was to see the stuff that had posted up to that point. The next day you'd get hit with another charge because they charge everybody on the first of the month. So you get charged immediately when you sign up in the month, and that's to avoid people signing up and then getting all the content and then like screwing off before the thing has a chance to charge. Some people used to do that, so they'd sign up, not get charged, and before the end of the month, after they've looked at all the stuff that is hidden for patrons, they would cancel their pledge and they would never get charged and all this stuff for free. So Patreon started charging people when they signed up, and they also continued to charge them on the first of every month with everybody else. So a lot of people apparently were complaining that it felt like double charging, which I don't really think it was, and Patreon was going out of their way to say that people found that system very confusing. I don't find it super confusing. I think you can explain it in a sentence. Maybe, if in the last 10 days of a month, tell people, you might be better off waiting until the next month to actually get to sign up for this. Otherwise, we're going to double charge you. But I think that what they're going to be doing is instead of charging everybody on the first of the month, they're going to be charging you on the day you sign up and then 30 days from there. So it's like more of an anniversary subscription thing. So every month you'll be charged something, and not everyone is going to be charged on the first. I don't know how it's going to work for payout, if your Patreon pays you out as a creator every month, or if they just give you sort of like the trickle feed of money that comes in when people's pledges post throughout the month. I don't know about that, but that's the other thing Patreon was trying to do. And so because of that, the way that they used to do it, sorry, this is horribly boring to some people, but this is a Patreon update. What are you going to expect from me? What they used to do is they would bundle all the charges together, and that lowered their transaction fee amounts that would come in because the banks charge you money to move money around. So they used to bundle everything. Now this new thing is not bundling everyone, so that's why everyone has to pay this fee, which is the 35-cent thing on top of it. And the main problem with it is that if you're a low money supporter of something, which is kind of the way I prefer to use Patreon, I support a bunch of people at like $1 or $2 amounts, which I feel is preferable for the Patreon economy, and I just like supporting a bunch of different things. And if people out there, if everyone out there who's listened to something supported it at like $1 or 50 cents, you'd make way more money than the people who give you higher amounts, but it's only like 1% of the listener base. So I think it's better to incentivize low dollar amounts giving to a lot of people, but this new system kind of punishes you because you basically get a 35% raise on your $1 pledge, and it punishes the $1 people. If you're paying $10 into something, it's only 65 cents on top of your $10, so it's not a big deal really in the grand scheme of things. It's more money, but it's not a 30% increase, which is what the dollars are saying. So that's kind of sad. It's disincentivizing the low pledge amounts, which is too bad because a lot of ours are the $2 amounts because that's what you need to pay to get to the listen to the podcast and stuff like that. So I feel bad for that. But if everyone's sticking around, thank you very much. No one's canceled yet. They might be waiting for the bill to come in and then cancel next month. But I understand if you do. Not a big deal. It is if you support 10 people, it's another $4 basically at the end of the month. Like, so if you're giving if you're giving $1 to 10 people, that's $10. The extra Patreon tax is going to be $4 on the top of that. So instead of paying $10, you're paying $14, and $4 of it is just going to transaction fees. And it's frustrating. We'll see how it shakes out, but thank you for sticking around. If you do stick around, thank you for your support in the past. If you've supported the show, which you obviously had if you're watching this, much appreciated, but understandable if you need to back out, and no hard feelings. I guess the main takeaway for me is the fact that it's kind of weird that you can think of the transaction fee. You know how places make you pay, you like have a $5 minimum if you want to pay with a credit card. It's basically to get around this transaction fee stuff, which to me is the big takeaway, is how unfair the transaction fees are. And I'm not a banking expert, so if there's anybody out there who specializes in banking, could you explain why the rate is so high? I would have thought that if you were doing a transaction and someone told me to guess what a bank charged to do a digital currency transaction between two places, I would have guessed like the high end would have been 5% of something. Like if it was $1, it would be maybe 5 cents of that. I would have thought it would be more like fractions of a penny because of how many transactions are going on in a day. They'd make up their money, but 35 cents on $1 doesn't seem to make sense. And I also don't understand why financial transactions increase depending on how much money is being moved around, because it seems to me that all they're doing is moving digital bits around. It's not like you're moving lumber and a smaller amount costs you less, it's less labor. And once the bank has your money, I'd assume it would fit into all the other ways that they deal with making money off of having money and things like that. So I don't really understand transaction fees. If anyone out there is a banker, I'd love to be explained what's going on. But that's it. Patreon is changing its fee thing. Patrons pay a little bit more, which is unfair in my opinion. I feel like the creators should be paying that burden of the tax. People are complaining about it online. It's going to take effect on December 18th. Thank you for sticking around. If you stick around, if you don't, no hard feelings. I understand. And what the fuck are with transaction fees? Tell me that, bankers. Next, I got a Nintendo Switch, gaming in bed. That's excellent. I've been playing Zelda. I don't do a lot of gaming stuff on this, but I do think I'm going to do a Zelda video. But I love the Switch. I can't play the PlayStation too much. I'm looking at it now because it is out in the living room. So when Amy is out here watching TV, it's hard to sort of say I want the PlayStation to be used right now. So it's nice to carry the Switch around. You can actually take it places and play wherever you want. You can play in bed. You can pull it out here on the couch. You can do whatever you want. I think it's my favorite kind of gaming system at this point. I'd be hard pressed to buy a new console, but the Switch, the handheld Switch, is a really nice addition. So for upcoming videos, what do we got? I'm going to do a early Zelda Breath of the Wild take on that. See like my early thoughts. I'm only about 10 hours in or something. The DS9 Best and Worst of Season 1 needs to come out. I need to capture all the footage for that and start writing the scripts, but I'm trying to keep those at least somewhat reasonable, unlike the TNG ones, which came out like a year after we finished the podcast. So I'll try to get the DS9 Best and Worst of Season 1 out at least by the midpoint of Season 2 of Deep Space Nine, the podcast. I'm going to do a TNG Guilty Pleasures. After my top 10 TNG video, people seem to like that, and they wanted more sort of list videos about TNG stuff. So Guilty Pleasures will be the next one. I figure we can do things like best character episodes. There's a whole bunch of sort of silly list videos that you can make, and that would come out kind of regularly. So TNG Guilty Pleasure. DS9 Best and Worst of Season 1, Zelda Breath of the Wild. DS9 is continuing, as always. We got feedback from the survey coming in. Sorry, the camera's blinking at me. Feedback from the survey is coming in, which has been interesting. We'll sort of incorporate that. I'll probably talk about it in one of the podcasts when it wraps up. It'll be out there for a couple more podcasts. Clay's going to be doing the opening 3-episode arc because it's all one serialized story. And it's good to be in Season 2. Maybe it's better to be done with Season 1 or something like that, I think would be a better way of saying it. But it'll be good to be into Season 2 moving forward. It's always nice to check it off. And now we're 1/7 of the way through DS9. Real Ripe and Real Rotten is going to continue. We have Alien out either whenever this Alien will have come out yesterday, I guess. That'll be on YouTube and the MP3s. You can download it there. A Good Year will come out probably December 27th. The Russell Crowe, Ridley Scott feature. Alien came out well. We're still trying to figure out how to make that podcast work, whether or not we're talking about the background of the director and the movie too much. Let us know if the information aspect is good, or if you just want to hear a more discussion thing. I think we did a lot of discussion with the first for Logan. We didn't do as much with Christmas Eve. There wasn't much to say about it. And then Alien, there is actually a lot to say about it. So we talked quite a bit about sort of the backstory of Alien and Ridley Scott and everything like that. And not too much about the movie. It's more about the Ridley Scott stuff, because Alien has kind of been talked about a lot at this point. It's a modern classic. A good year will be different. I think we'll talk more about the movie in that case, because it's not going to be a very good movie. So let us know what you think about how that podcast is going. And if you don't mind, if you could rate it on iTunes, that would be very, very helpful. I know rating stuff on iTunes really sucks, but it is helpful, especially with the feedback. A good portion of people have found the Trek podcast through iTunes. It's like Star Trek recommendations. So getting the show up as high as possible is much appreciated on that. If you could rate the Star Trek podcast, that's also great too. It's super clunky though. iTunes makes rating stuff on iTunes. Opening iTunes sucks in the first place. It's clumpy and slow and horrible and drains your computer. And then rating stuff on it is also horribly clunky and doesn't feel like you actually do it when you click the 5-star rating. But if you could do that, much appreciated. It doesn't have to be 5 stars. You can rate it honestly. It's all good with me. That's about it. DS9 continues, Real Ripe and Real Rotten. We got the upcoming videos, Zelda, DS9, TNG. Got a Nintendo Switch. That's going to be fun to play. That's more of a personal thing. And then changes to Patreon because of the fees. So anyone has any questions, let me know. Otherwise, that's it. And I think that I'll point this over here. We'll put it at the Christmas tree and say Happy Holidays with this holiday tree. It's not a Christmas tree. Donald Trump. That's about it. So, guys, thank you very much. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we'll see you next time.